This kind of corruption is effectively selling Canadian citizenship. That's what's happening here. LMIA, Labor Market Impact Assessment forms, and the corruption associated with that, and the orders and directives from the top down, Trudeau government coming down, is effectively selling citizenships. Globe and Mail has just published a brand new article talking about how the Canadian consensus on immigration has been completely destroyed. Justin Trudeau's legacy will be destroying the Canadian consensus on immigration. That's a great headline right there, looking at that. Why? The consensus on immigration in Canada. What has it been? Until now, Canadians have been known as welcoming, right? When you got a new person arriving in your neighborhood or whatever, back in the day, it was kind of neat. Maybe you shared food. Maybe you shared... It was just interesting. It wasn't a big deal. I always felt, growing up in Montreal, that, it was... I had all kinds of people next to me, and I never felt like I was an outsider. Like, that's how you grew up, and I was welcomed in. And I mean, be it as it were that I've been here since I'm 8 months old. My parents brought me from England, but still, that's what it was like. It's great to welcome in people, it really is, but not when it's at the expense of your own children. And we've seen that with jobs and the rest not being available for the youth, because these students, right, who under the guise of a student program have really just been working here full-time, getting their permanent residency and becoming citizens. What is citizenship even at that point, right? Is it an economic zone? Is Canada an economic zone at that point? Is it a country where you have a shared identity and a shared set of values? Or is it an economic zone? Canada has now a record high of 2.793594. That's 2,793,594 non-permanent residents living in the country. There's no way that each newcomer, right? Newcomer, that's a newspeak, was scrupulously vetted, nor is it possible that each position he or she was brought in to fill was assessed for its legitimate need. Government officers told to skip fraud prevention steps when vetting temporary foreign worker applications. All right, so this is the Toronto Star. Of course, these guys are, you remember what kind of articles they were publishing during 21, 22, all that kind of stuff. Beginning in January 22, Employment and Social Development Canada, ESDC, directed staff to apply streamlining measures. What does that mean? What is a streamlining measure? A streamlining measure. When evaluating the legitimacy of applications by employers who want to hire temporary foreign workers, that's right, TFWs. So what did they do to streamline, right? What did they do to streamline? Let's take a look. According to internal ESDC documents obtained by the Star in interviews with the current ESDC, of course in Canada, right, everything's to do with jargon and all these acronyms. ESDC, one more time, Employment and Social Development Canada. Routine checks meant to ensure the system is not abused by unscrupulous employers were suspended in an effort to process applications faster. So what does that mean, right? Process applications faster. That means bring more and more people in who are unvetted. Let's not even take a look. Let's streamline things. Let's just get it in as fast as possible. All you guys over there, come on in. Don't worry about the housing. Don't worry about how it's affecting our own people here. Let's streamline things and bring everybody in. A long-time ESDC employee on the front line of labor market impact assessment. So that's the LMIA. You're going to hear this acronym a lot. You probably already know it. LMIA. So this is the labor market impact assessment processing. So what does this mean specifically? This LMIA is all about making sure that you have to go outside, of Canada to find people to fill certain roles. A labor market impact assessment is a document that an employer in Canada may need to get before hiring a foreign worker. Again, making sure that there are no Canadians who can fill that role and that you got to go outside of Canada to get somebody. And this is where we're exposing the falseness. Okay, all of us, everybody out here, thank you in the comments watching this, because we're all noticing now, and we are exposing this LMIA fraud. Basically, that there has been no impact assessment, there has been no regulatory check, whether it's immigration consultants, or even that we even need those people in the country. It's all being sidestepped. The employee said, the checks and balances have been reduced so much that there's very little we can do. People have complained to management, but nothing's being done. That's because these orders are coming from the top. That's where they're coming from. They're coming from the top. Hey, get these people in at all costs. Forget about the native population, the people here. When I say native population, I'm talking about people born, raised in Canada, Canadians. I'm not talking about, the native Indians, the other type of Indians. I'm the dot Indian, you know what I mean? The feather Indians. I'm talking about the native-born population here. People from this land. Forget about them. Not important. It's important to look at people from outside only. And it bothers me because what do you think my own kids are at this point? I live in Ottawa. I've got 5 kids. My kids are Canadians. So they're actually being impacted by this. Their futures are being impacted like this, like your kids are being impacted like this. Doesn't matter about your skin color. You all want to paint us as racists and homophobes and all the rest. It's not about that. It's about the fact that all of our children are being affected by these policies, this corruption. There's directives given to the staff, and even the staff get a frequently asked questions guide just so that they're sure, they know that this is a big problem and how you deal with your concerns. Let's take a look. One of the questions in this FAQ to the employees right there reads, I'm concerned that I'll miss some important information if I follow the streamlined assessment steps. What will happen if I make a mistake? The answer says that the assessment process is a risk-based approach, balancing the needs of the Canadian labor market with the integrity of the program. In effect, there is no integrity of the program. This LMIA and the ESDC, this staff at the government, the public sector, these directives have come down from the top, and there's no more integrity. There's no more checks and balances. There's no more attention to detail. There's no vetting. And frankly, forgetting about security concerns, we're just talking about the fact that is there even a role, is there even a need to look externally outside the country? And I'll ask you that, and I'd love to hear your comments. Because I'll tell you what, it's impacting me too. It doesn't matter about my skin color. I'm putting that out there because the left, specifically, ultra-leftists want to make this an issue about race and accepting people coming in. It's not about that. It's about being from here or being from there and looking after our own people. To hire a temporary foreign worker, TFW, an employer must first submit an LMIA to ESDC for approval, demonstrating that there's a need for a foreign worker to fill a position in which no Canadian citizen or existing permanent residents, and not even citizens, but people who are here, PRs, is available. The cost of the application is $1,000. It must be borne by the employer. It's illegal to charge workers for an LMIA, but yet we know there's corruption. This kind of corruption is effectively selling Canadian citizenship. That's what's happening here. LMIA, Labor Market Impact Assessment forms, and the corruption associated with that, and the orders and directives from the top down, Trudeau government coming down, is effectively selling citizenship. Prem, right, an Indian guy, Prem 39, came to Canada from India through a consultant, an immigration consultant, who charged him $40,000 for an LMIA to work as a bookkeeper in a marketing company. Now, you're telling me that there's no bookkeepers? You're telling me that there's no bookkeepers? There's no bookkeepers in Canada. Is that what you're telling me? He had extensive experience working in the UAE as an accountant for 15 years. Well, that's fantastic. But what about our own bookkeepers? Prem, who the Star has granted anonymity due to fear of losing his status in the country, had all the right documents and papers to enter and work in Canada legally. But when he arrived in September 23, he was told that the job he was promised did not exist. That's the only reason that this guy's even associating with the papers, because he got defrauded out of $40K. I was in total shock. I didn't know what to do, said Prem. I had no idea how immigration works here. BS! I'm calling BS, Prem. I'm calling BS. And I've seen CBC do reports like this as well before, where they pretend, I didn't know that I falsified documents. I had no clue that that's not how immigration worked here. Don't BS me. Even in India, there's rules to follow. By the way, there's severe rules to follow, okay? That's just how it is. All countries got rules. Don't tell me that you don't know how the rules work. No, you paid $40K for a citizenship, Prem. You didn't get it. It was fraudulent. They defrauded you out of $40K, and now you're pretending. I'm an art guy, right? I love comic books. I grew up loving comic books. I'm a software programmer. My name is Rohan Kumar Paul. I've been a computer programmer for 24 years, and I've put together a couple comic books as well. I'd love it if you take a moment to check out Racist Angel. Take a look, share it around. I think you're going to love it if you like this kind of content. Thank you so much. My name is Rohan Kumar Paul, and I'm in Ottawa, and I'm out. Thank you. We've seen PSAC go on strike. That's a public service union. We've seen, well, here in Ontario, we have the LCBO gone on strike. By the way, this is the first time that's ever happened in the history of the LCBO. We expect better governance, not a kakistocracy. That's right, kakistocracy, rule of the worst qualified. We got a journalist major, who, by the way, is also working high up for the WEF, who happens to be our finance minister. And you wonder why, financially, we're getting all these kind of issues. Well, maybe you're the problem, Freeland. Well, I don't know about you, but then again, I'm not really surprised when DEI and the rights of every minority group has been the number one concern of this government. Maybe that's part of the problem. Instead of financial issues being top of mind and issues that affect all Canadians being really the issue, this government has been excellent. That's Trudeau, Freeland, the entire government has been excellent in pandering to the smallest of groups. And if you say anything against it, well, you might get your bank account frozen. At the very least, you're going to be called some kind of ist or some kind of phobe. That's the reason that I put together a book, Racist Angel, available at racistangel.com, telling the story of a beautiful angel. Her name is Alexis. She comes down from heaven. She actually gets canceled from heaven, believe it or not. Why? Because she's a little risque. Gets to earth, has no idea of what you should do and what you shouldn't do, or what you shouldn't say, more like. Because people seem to be a little nuts these days. She gets accosted as well, by the way. She gets accosted by some folk who maybe should be going home. She fights back and she doesn't take no for an answer, and she's not a victim. That's Racist Angel. Check it out. I really appreciate your time. And be sure to subscribe to RohanCensor.com just in case some of my opinions get me, I don't know, I gotta be careful. Thank you so much.